RMJ Movie Reviews back again with my next Black History Month movie review. Let me get a sip first, guys. Alrighty, let's get it going. And my next movie review for Black History Month is one of, in my opinion, the most underrated classics. The Golden Child, starring Mr. Eddie Murphy himself, from 1986. Yeah, 1986. It was right before the year turned 1987. Oh my goodness, I cannot give enough praise for the Golden Child. Man, hold on, first of all, let me tell y'all one thing. You know, we all remember that in the 80s, Eddie Murphy was the man. He was the man in the 1980s. And we know that around the time that, you know, Harlem Nights came out, Another 48 Hours, Distinguished Gentleman, and, of course, we know The Capper, which ultimately killed Eddie Murphy's career for a little while, was Beverly Hills Cop 3. The less said about that movie, the better. One day I might actually do a review of it, and I'll tell you of my theater-going experience on that film. But, you know, and Boomerang, which was a bright spot, you know, in the dark times, which for Eddie Murphy was 1989 through 1994. And pretty much, okay, Nutty Professor brought him back, and then he kind of has been bouncing up and down. Shrek has kept him afloat, his animated stuff, but the Eddie Murphy that exists in this film, and from basically, you know, Saturday Night Live when he was on there all the way until 1988 of Coming to America, this Eddie Murphy does not exist anymore. He will not ever come back. So we have to live out, you know, we just have to remember those days by watching stuff like this. So The Golden Child, I saw the film. My older brother actually recorded it off, I think he recorded it off Showtime back in the 80s when it first came on, and I loved The Golden Child. I don't know, I think I was like I think I might have been 6 or 7 years old when that movie came on video, or on cable and video. But I loved it, and I still to this day love The Golden Child. It wasn't upon until I became a big movie buff when I was like in my late teens and early 20s, and I saw these retro movie reviews from when the film came out, that it really got mediocre reviews. I guess it was a modest hit, but compared to like the stuff that Eddie Murphy was making at that time, it wasn't like the colossal blockbuster that they expected. And, you know, I've talked with people throughout the years, people who were adults when the film came out and who were teenagers, and a lot of people kind of just go, meh, about The Golden Child, which I just don't think it's fair. I think maybe because it was a fantasy picture and an Eddie Murphy movie combined, I think for most audiences, they probably wanted that 48 Hours Beverly Hills Cop Eddie Murphy with that really hard-edged and the quick tongue. And you know, you still get that here, you know, but I guess they weren't really expecting the fantasy aspect of the film, which to me, I think it was the perfect combination. You know what I mean? Eddie Murphy is on full form in this movie. I mean, Eddie's timing is immaculate in this film. His improvisation, and I know the stuff he's doing in this movie, it was not written. I know Eddie Murphy had to have been making that stuff up just off rip, because you can see in certain scenes the way it's edited, it looks like the actors had the chick, Charlotte Lewis, I think is her name, who plays his co-star. You can see there's scenes where she's gonna laugh, and even Charles Dance from Alien 3 and China Moon, you know, very serious actor. There's scenes where he looks like he wants to laugh, and you can tell that the actors themselves were cracking up at the stuff Eddie was doing. You know, Golden Child tells the story of Eddie Murphy. He's basically, he looks for kidnapped children, missing children, whatever, and he comes upon this lady, Charlotte, a child over in Tibet, a magical child over in Tibet has been kidnapped by the evil Sada Numspa. And they want to kill him so the devil and evil can rule the earth and goodness can be vanquished. And so they enlist the help of Eddie Murphy, who's Chandler Gerald is his name, because he's the chosen one. And they go on this mission to get the golden child back from the devil and stop the devil from killing him. And havoc and fun times ensue. I mean, it's such a fun movie. I do not see why the hate. I actually, in my opinion, this is one of Eddie Murphy's most underrated movies from the 80s. And I think this movie should be given more credit. Eddie's jokes are so on point. I mean, the funniness, what makes this movie so hilarious is that it's so ridiculously absurd. And all the actors who are like playing the villains and the good guys, they're playing it straight. Eddie Murphy is looking at it like, this is nuts. What is this? And he reacts to all the information they're giving him with like, just like, seriously, dude. But see, the audience is saying the same thing. So Eddie Murphy essentially is the audience that's watching this movie. But when the film gets like dark, and it does have very dark moments in it, and it gets serious, he plays it serious when it's time to be serious. But as the information is being given out, he's playing it totally for laughs, but he's serious when it has to be. Like I said, in the darker moments, you know. And I just don't think it's given enough credit. I could just name off the funny jokes. I mean, the jokes just do not stop in this movie, and they're never distracting. They pretty much, there's a couple that look like they were plugged in, but most of them fit the situation accordingly. Like, I love the scene where, you know, Eddie Murphy, the movie starts out with a montage, you know, musical montage, because it's the 80s. Looks like they were kind of trying to do it similar to the Eddie Murphy driving in the Beverly Hills Cop on the first one with the Patti LaBelle song. Kind of similar like that, with him kind of looking at the locale and stuff. But this guy who's interviewing him, and the guy's kind of blowing him off, and I love how the guy just cuts Eddie Murphy off, and he goes to interview this woman with a turtle, and you see Eddie's hand coming to the screen, and Eddie just goes, you know, Teddy can kiss my ass. I mean, it's so funny. And then the time Charlotte Lewis meets him on the playground while he's playing with the kids, and she goes, well, this is the scroll about the golden child, and he goes, you know, this just looks like a big joint. You can lick it and smoke it. And he's like, you know what? I think it was 2 scrolls and you smoked the other one. I'm like, it's crazy. Eddie is just, he is so on point. I probably cannot name the jokes on both of my hands at how funny Eddie Murphy is in this movie. I love another one. I think I'm just going to start naming them all. The other one I like is where, you know, he finally agrees. He sits down with her and he talks. And she goes, well, I need you to go meet somebody so we can get more information about the golden child. And then he goes, well, do we have to project there to another side of the galaxy? I mean, it's crazy. Man, Eddie Murphy is not. And what I love is how, at this time, Eddie Murphy was known for doing a lot of dirty jokes and all that stuff. But in this movie, his humor is, I mean, yes, he still does the cursing, but it's nowhere near as hard as just 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop, or Eddie Murphy Raw, or Harlem Nights. And also, too, as Roger Ebert said in his review, you can find it on the internet, Eddie Murphy really exerts a gentleness in this movie and a sweetness that I think he wasn't really allowed to show at that time. You know, Eddie is really good in this movie. Of course, the other one when he goes to Tibet and they have to spin the wheel to, you know, I want to see the golden child, and he grabs it and he goes, I want the knife. Eddie jumps the fence to get to the biker gang, and it turns out it's a family, and he just goes, wait a minute, hold on, I just want some chips. Who would hate this movie? It's hilarious. Another good one, I think the ones where he goes into the Chinese office and the guy is speaking to him. I don't know if it's a Chinese, but he's speaking to him in another Asian language. And Eddie Murphy, and the guy just starts laughing at him. He goes, Eddie Murphy is just like, yeah, you know what I mean? And what's another one? Another good one is the one where they're in Tibet, and then the guy comes up to him and goes, he's speaking to him in this other language, and Eddie Murphy just goes, well, I don't know, I probably won't be around till about 8 o'clock, but I don't think I'm going to make it to the party. I mean, it's crazy, man. Eddie is firing on full cylinders in this movie, man. Another funny gag he has the dream, and Sodom Numsy comes in, and he goes like, I love the Morris Dayfield jacket with the boots, it's smoking. I mean, Eddie is just so. This movie's absolutely hilarious. It's hilarious. I love the fantasy aspect of it. It's cheeseball. It's 80s. The effects. I think even for the time, there's some good ones, and then when Sodom Numsy turns into the devil, that one is not so good. But that's okay. It's just a fun fantasy movie, and I love the fact that you can combine a comedian. And this is a pure example of when, and I don't know if it's the editor who kind of edited Eddie just right or how much Eddie was given to him, but everything is timed just right. The jokes don't go too far. I can tell you of an example where comedy and fantasy don't mix. Ryan Reynolds in Blade Trinity. That was a massive. You can see how my demeanor just changed talking about that film. You can tell how I feel about it. But big miscalculation of comedy and fantasy picture and action picture. Ryan Reynolds was just, and I don't know, he was just way overboard in that film. I don't know if it was just the editors just let him be overboard. Whatever the case may be, Blade Trinity is a fine example of when it doesn't mix good, and it's not a good mix, But in the case of The Golden Child, you know what I mean? You're talking about the perfect mix there. I mean, oh man, I love it. I love this movie. I do not want to hear anybody who says The Golden Child is not. This is one of Eddie, and personally, my personal opinion, I actually, don't anybody shoot me, but I actually feel that, in my personal opinion, I actually find The Golden Child to be funnier than Harlem Nights and even Coming to America. That's a bold statement, I know. I know that's a very bold statement, but that's how I feel personally. All three films are very funny, but I feel that Eddie is just his, I'm not going to say he's his best, but kind of the comedy he comes up with in response to the situations, I just feel is just perfect, And all the actors are really good. Like I said, Charles Dance, accomplished, serious actor. He's in on the joke. He looks like he's just having a ball playing the villain. Randall Tex Cobb from Raising Arizona. Ernest Goes to Jail, too. And a bunch of other movies. He plays one of the heavy. I like the other one, too, where there's a scene where Eddie Murphy throws the chain around Fool's neck and he breaks his own neck, and he kind of just gives a response. He falls and breaks his neck, and Eddie just kind of goes, It does like that. Come on, guys. Who could not enjoy this movie? This is the type of movie that really made me love films when I was growing up. And also, digressing a minute, I will say also, as a filmmaker and an actor, sometimes I think as people of color, this being a Black History Month movie review, we can sometimes get pigeonholed into kind of the, my husband just left me, I lost my job, I got to get my kids back, or, the police officer is going over my, hitting me over the head with a billy club, or we got to sing in church type of movies, which I'm not knocking those films. Those films are very good. They're very good. They're very hurtful to watch. They're good. But for me, I really want to break out of that mold, and I really like to do something like this. You know what I mean? More kind of, you have the reality of the Eddie Murphy character, and then you combine it in this absurd situation, and it's just a perfect mix. Another thing I want to compliment is the soundtrack. The soundtrack in this movie is dynamite. Just it's so 80s. It's techno. It's got the little electronic drum set in the background. I mean, the soundtrack is, that's one thing I really miss too about films now, is how they really don't have those distinct dynamite, aside from like The Dark Knight and Inception. Those are all Hans Zimmer. And I can think maybe a couple of other ones, but really, also from this era, I miss that films don't have distinct scores that give the movie its own identity. That doesn't really happen anymore. And that's really the other thing I really like, is the soundtrack complements Eddie's energy, because Eddie Murphy is here. Like, he's on all cylinders, firing, man. He's dynamite with his one-liners, his improvisation. The jokes just keep coming, and they're all funny. Not one falls flat. He's totally great here. And I love that the soundtrack is very upbeat, just like Eddie Murphy's performance. If there's only one thing that I might take points away from the movie is the ending. Like when he finally goes after Sodom Numbspa and he kills him, the ending was a little bit kind of anticlimactic, I felt, a little bit too quick. But, you know, I'm pretty sure they were probably like, look, we need to make our hour-and-a-half movie, get the audience in and out, get as many showings as we can. You know, so aside from kind of an anticlimactic ending, I love The Golden Child. I think it's a 10 out of 10. Even in retrospect now, I'd give this movie a A+. I'd give it a very high rating. I love this film. In my personal opinion, I'd even rate this movie higher than Beverly Hills Cop 2. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. I would. I enjoy this better than Beverly Hills Cop 2. I know that was like that and Coming to America were two really big ones towards the end of the Eddie Murphy canon. But I love this film. There's really nothing else I can say about it. Is that this just... When I see Eddie Murphy in interviews now, and I understand, the man is 50 years old. In this movie, I believe Eddie is 26 or 27. So you're talking about a 50-year-old man versus a guy in his 20s. I get it. Totally big difference. But when I see Eddie Murphy in his interviews now, I mean, I kind of get sad, you know, sometimes. Because I remember when he used to do all those interviews with Arsenio all the time. And, you know, it just makes me sad to hear that Eddie can't ever get back to this kind of comedy. But, you know, the past is the past. I guess we're supposed to move on. And Eddie's got all the money he needs. He probably made money off this DVD I brought. So, great movie. Great. Please, everybody. Oh, and I also want to say, too, the Avengers stole something from this movie. And that's when Sodom Numbspa, whatever his name is, when he speaks to the devil, the camera goes to the side, and as the camera turns, the room turns into hell. In the Avengers, when what's his name, Loki, was talking to the evil guy in another universe, they did the same trick. So I will say that even though the Golden Child gets knocked on, the Avengers stole from this movie. I was the only one in the... I think I said it to my mom and grandmother when we saw the first Avengers. I don't think they knew what I was talking about. But the Avengers stole something from the Golden Child. I got you guys. Great movie. Great from the Eddie Murphy canon. There's nothing else I can say about it. Is that this movie is funny as hell. Eddie, if you can make Beverly Hills Cop 4 and make it hard-edged like the first one and just try to just be Eddie Murphy from this time period, I'm all for it. If we get a Beverly Hills Cop 3, you can keep it. RMJ Movie Reviews. Thumbs up. Subscribe. Comment. Share. Let's talk about The Golden Child, guys. My opinion on Eddie Murphy's top movies from that time. My next movie review for Black History Month is going to be a Robert Townsend classic, The Five Heartbeats. RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll see you soon.